Great. Well, thank you. We're going to move on to the next speaker, and then if we have time at the end, we'll take some more questions. So Rodney's going to talk a little bit about the background noise. No, the Ketter cultivar. All right.
Oh, hold on just a minute. Back. There we go. Now you need the microphone. Raise it up. Okay. My name is Rodney Dever. I'm Neil Peterson's business partner and a botanist. So I'm really into plants. So today I'm going to be talking to you about Mrs. Ketter, and she was the prize winner of the 1916 contest. Now the purpose of this talk is I've got some new information about Mrs. Ketter, and I also have information about her fruit. New breaking news. Isn't that a great picture? Yes. Unfortunately, that's not Miss Ketter. We don't know much of anything about Miss Ketter. In fact, when she won that great contest back in 1916, she was mentioned as being Mrs. Frank Ketter. Now, that's not very respectful, I don't think, for the winner of the 1916 contest. So I've teamed up to find out more about her. I've teamed up with the Lawrence County, Ohio Genealogical Society. We are, at the beginning of every month, they do a talk. And I will be giving their talk on November the 1st. It's going to be about Estella Ketter. And the day before that, we're going to be meeting in one of the largest cemeteries in Ohio, the Woodland Cemetery, on Halloween. The day when the veil between the living and the dead is closest. So we may make contact after all. We now know that her maiden name is Jameson, Estella Jameson Ketter, and she was a young thing. When she won that contest, she was just 23. She just turned 23. And this was a national contest that I'm going to talk about here in a minute. She married an older man, Frank Ketter, who was probably more financially stable. So we can go to her house today, which is on 6th Avenue in Ironton, Ohio. And I'm told this is in the better part of town, just a few blocks from the library. So now a little bit of information about the 1916 contest. It was given by the American Genetics Association, was the sponsor, and it was a $100 prize for the best fruit. Now in 1916 currency, that was $2,600. A nice chunk of change. Okay, the purpose was to gather superior wild pawpaws, lay the foundation for scientific breeding, because pawpaws, as you know, they're perishable, and there was issues with shipping ability. All these pawpaws were going to be mailed to the main office in Washington, D.C., but that's a feat in itself. Because as you know, a pawpaw picked too early, it's not going to ripen, and one picked too late is going to be a mushy mess. So the entries came from throughout pawpaw's range. The contest brought together pawpaw folk knowledge and scientists for the first time. Now this red star, the red star marks the winner in Ironton, Ohio, and the yellow star marks the Virginia Arboretum, Blandy Arboretum, which figures later on in the story. Oh, yeah, we live about 20 minutes from the Virginia Arboretum, from the Blandy Experimental Station, yes. So one person who figures in this story is David Fairchild. He was a renowned plant explorer for the USDA. He was one of the major proponents behind the 1916 contest. He grew pawpaw trees from the Ketter fruit. There was the Fairchild number 1 and the Fairchild number 2. And these ended up at the Blandy Experimental Farm. They were collected by Orland White, so he adds Fairchild number 2 to the Blandy collection. And then along a few years later comes Neil Peterson. Neil Peterson decided to make pawpaw his life's work while he was a WV student, and this started him on the path to breeding pawpaws. He had an eye to establish pawpaw as a new crop. So here's a picture of Neil in the backwoods at Blandy, where he discovered 2 rows of 55 trees. The BEF 30, the BEF 53, and the BEF 54. These are mothers of some of his varieties. The plant accession records, however, at that time were a mess because Blandy had kind of went downhill. So even though Neil got some germplasm, some cuttings from there, he really couldn't tell what it was from. He couldn't connect with that. So in the following years, at Neil's breeding program, we now have 8 varieties to date. All of these names are an homage to Native American place names. The Tallahatchie and the Kanawha are not included in this lineup here because they're so new. Okay, the breaking news. The curator at the Virginia Arboretum, Blandy, in 2023, he decides to get a metal detector, and he goes out there and he discovers some tags that we were then able to link up with the information, the accession records. So now we know that Susquehanna and Potomac are descendants of the prize-winning Ketter fruit. So the lineage goes from Ketter to Fairchild number 2 to Neil Peterson. So BEF 53 resulted in Susquehanna, and the BEF 54 results in the Potomac. Now the story is, yeah. Well, Neil's becoming quite a celebrity now, and at the Arboretum, they've taken note of this, so they've created the Pawpaw Trail, and it's in the backwoods, right where Neil discovered those original pawpaws. Now, as a lot of pawpaws have become extinct in the previous century, from the mid-century. So the moral of the story, this underscores the importance of a germplasm repository and institutional oversight when it comes to preserving these cultivars. Thank you, KSU. All right, who has questions? Questions? Okay, I'm just going to bow out because I know we're short on time right now.
Thank you very much. Very interesting.